Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you Nintendo World Championships, NES Edition for the Nintendo Switch. Let me make a very unique disclaimer that'll set me apart from probably all the other reviewers that are playing this game. I really do not like NES games. I hate them with a passion. I respect what they did for the gaming industry, but I'm of the belief that just because something was a trendsetter doesn't automatically make it good. Would I prefer to travel across the states in a wagon because it was historical, or in an air-conditioned car? That kind of argument. I just think gaming is advanced far beyond that technology, and even if it weren't for that, those games are just really hard and the controls are really clunky. And really the only NES game that I would even say is good, in my personal opinion, is Eliminator Bike Duel. The rest are at the most tolerable and at the worst insufferable, as they were known for being really hard by design because, one, they were still getting over the fact that this was a home console and not an arcade where you needed to pump quarters, and two, they wanted to pad out the length of the games, because if you could beat them in a couple of minutes, it wouldn't be worth the price that they were asking at the time. So going into this, I had really low expectations. I figured it's rentable on GameFly. I wouldn't have played it any other way, so I guess I'll give it a try. And lo and behold, I actually really like this game. I'm honestly shocked that I'm saying that to you guys right now, but I think the nature of dividing these full-length NES games into small challenges was the right approach for appealing to people like me. So let's start by talking about what the game is and what it isn't. This is not another entry in the NES Remix series. This is more so a recreation of what it was like to be in actual Nintendo World Championship tournaments, but in a more virtual space. So you have various missions from a bunch of NES games. You got pretty much all the classics, like the Super Mario Brothers games, the Zelda games, Kirby's Adventure. For some reason, Ice Climber is in there, but every other game is a good choice for NES veterans. I'm not particularly a big fan of some of the more challenging ones, like Lost Levels and Kid Icarus, but I think the fact that the missions were so easy to understand made it easier for me to appreciate them. And once I knew what I was doing, then because it didn't take very long, it was easy for me to get a grasp on the controls and feel like I was actually getting really good at it. In fact, to show that I have the criteria of making sure that I played this enough to review it, I beat every single challenge from normal up to master. I didn't touch the legendary ones because I'm not that good at the NES. And I got an A rank or higher. I think the highest you can get is either an S or an S++. The only ones that I missed in that list were the last 3 master challenges in Metroid, because goodness, those bosses seem to have unlimited health. And also, I don't really know how to play Metroid. The game's controls are kind of confusing even by NES standards, but I did do most of them. Now, to unlock these challenges, you start out with only 1 from each game, and then you have to use your coins you get by doing basically any kind of achievement. They start out simple and slowly ramp up in difficulty, with Legend being the last challenge, these being so hard that some of them span entire games that you have to cheat to get by, because Nintendo keeps saying in their advertisement, they're not included in their entirety, guys. This is not the next virtual console. Heaven forbid. But you do get the option to read something called classified information, which is a hilarious throwback to Nintendo Power, because that was a section in their magazines that had to do with cheat codes and getting past difficult games. Now, whether these are actual pages from Nintendo Power or not, I'm not sure, but either way, it's such a cool concept. I also like how the game kind of expects you to not know what you're doing and provides various tools to make it so that people like me could jump in really quickly. Before you start the game, you're told what your objective is, and you can watch a video demonstrating someone else playing the game so that you can see the optimal route, familiarize yourself with certain tactics. You can fast forward the video if you think the person playing it is going too slow. And you can even toggle on-screen controls that tell you which button does which, and arrows that'll point to which direction you should be going if you're doing non-linear games like Metroid or Zelda, and sometimes even circles if there are multiple objects on the screen that you have to find that you might not be able to search for fast enough with your own eyeballs. There is an automatic rewind option, but you cannot manually rewind, which I find is a little bit of a downgrade, considering that you can do that in other retro collections, including some on the Switch, but at the same time, I get the idea behind it. Why rewind for just a small challenge when it's only going to take you a couple of seconds to beat it? It's not like you're trying to beat a whole game. However, the caveat to using this automatic rewind is that the timer keeps going. So while it's still possible to get an A or an S rank, as I did a few times, it's not ideal if you want to have the best time in the world. And even if you want to be a purist and don't do the rewind option, it is really quick to reset the challenge. You press both shoulder buttons and within an instant you're back at the demonstration. And then you start again and it only takes 3 seconds to warm up and then you're good to go. However, if you do not have a Nintendo Switch Online membership, this is about the extent of what you can do with the game, is just doing these challenges. Now don't get me wrong, there are quite a lot of them. And this game will certainly keep you busy for a while. It took me quite a few hours to get through them. But you'll definitely want to really push yourself to try out the online experiences because that's a faster way to earn coins. And it just makes the game all the more fun so that you can show off to the world that you're really good. Before we get into the online modes, let me tell you about some of the customization options, as I'm the type of guy that I love playing games where I can dress up and change my appearance and show the world different things about me. So you can choose a hype tag, which are various pre-generated phrases such as, I am of the Nintendo 64 generation, I grew up with an NES, my parents hid my power cord, stuff like that. And I like the variety here. It's a great way to allow players to express themselves without using profanity or any other things that are inappropriate. You can also choose various icons from throughout the NES games displayed, although strangely only the NES games displayed have icons. You can't really do any other games that aren't in this collection, but there are a lot of icons to choose from, and you can use your coins to buy them. So completionists, you got something to work towards. I chose the Balloon Fighter because that's my favorite game in the collection, although my favorite actual NES game is Eliminator Boat Duel. Yes, you can choose your favorite NES game to display to everyone. This game has a comprehensive list of, I think, every NES game ever released, even including licensed games, like some of the Disney games. Even, get this, both versions of Punch-Out are listed here, despite all the legal controversies. Heck, even Mrs. Pac-Man is an option. And you know how much Namco is trying to pretend that Mrs. Pac-Man never existed. I loved being able to go through the list and be like, that game is on the NES? I never would have thought it was powerful enough. And just being thankful that Eliminator Boat Duel was on there, so that I didn't feel left out. There's also various options, such as making your screen bigger, such as having you have to squint at your screen so that you feel like you're in an equal running with everyone else. Still no options to mix and match the music and the sound effects, which seems to be a common theme with Nintendo published games, but it is nice that you have plenty of customization options. Now, on to what you can do online. There are 2 modes at present that you can do if you have a Switch Online membership. World Championship mode and Survival mode. World Championship just has a pre-selected group of missions and you try to see how good you are, and then the whole world knows your best times on them, and that's about it. Honestly, I found it kind of boring because I'm just doing the same things that I did in speedrunner mode, but where it really shines is in Survival mode, where you're up against 7 other players. Editing Paul would like to make a quick correction. You're not playing against the players in real time. You are just fighting against the ghost data of players who have done the World Championship mode. You can play against people in real time, but you have to exit to the title screen and select Party mode. I do not have any friends who play this game, so I could not test it, but it sounds like it'd be really cool to try to beat these quick challenges even quicker than your friends. And the game will select 3 different challenges within 2 divisions. So there's a silver division and a gold division, and each has 3 challenges within it that have a random order, and they'll do elimination round style. So they'll eliminate 4 people, then 2 people, then eventually 1 versus 1, and whoever is left standing gets the trophy. And the game even prompts you to take a picture of it, because for some reason, the game said I only won each of the divisions once, even though I have photographic proof on my Switch that I did it more than once. Hopefully, if I'm good enough by the time I get to recording footage for this review, you guys can see for yourself that I did indeed win more than one. Even if the game doesn't acknowledge that I won them, it is really cool that I can find an online game that feels like I have a fair chance at winning without feeling like it's too easy. At first it really was. Like, I effortlessly won my first couple of divisions, but over time I started encountering tougher opponents. And I feel like depending on the rotation, you could either be clobbered or you could have a fighting chance. And I like those kinds of online games. Why can't there be more of those? And I also like how, because this is a Nintendo game, you don't get a bunch of trash talking like you'd probably get in the actual Nintendo World Championships. Now, some players might be a bit disappointed to learn that this is really the entire game, is just these bite-sized missions where you just keep trying to be faster at them. This is not the next Virtual Console, this is not a replacement for Switch Online, this is just a way for you to prove that you're really good at these challenges. There's not really any type of unlockables besides pins for doing achievements and player icons. There's no sound test, there's no art gallery, no history, just the classified information, I guess. Which is a bit of a bummer. You'd think this would be more of a celebration of NES games, but maybe they're like, you don't get to see all that in a tournament. Let's get the real authentic experience, just without people being in the room. Overall, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition is a lot of fun. If you can get past the horrendous controls of the NES games, then you're in for a blast if you just see them as, this is only going to take a couple of seconds, so it's not that big of a deal to get used to. I found myself wanting to replay a lot of these challenges, and I don't like NES games, so that's a sign of well-designed options. I like the names of the missions, I like the gradual difficulty progression, I think the first-party lineup is probably about as perfect as you can get. And I'm excited to see if maybe there will be other World Championship games. Hopefully the GameCube will be one of them, because, oh gosh, if they have SNES games, I'm going to be so mad. This is going for $30, and I'm not a big fan of that price. I do think it's better than the $60 Nintendo usually charges, but at the same time, I rented this from GameFly, and I feel like that would have gotten my money's worth a heck of a lot better than $30 would. So if you can get it on sale or at GameFly, I think that's better. If you're going to spend the full $30, only do it if you're a total sucker for NES games. If you, like, played the NES growing up and you now have kids and you want to introduce them to the NES, blah, blah, blah. But even then, there's Switch Online, there's, if you still have those Virtual Console games. There are other ways to play these games, but at the very least, these are fun little tastes of these games. Sort of the next best thing to having demos of them, and I think that's pretty cool. So, use your own judgment. Personally, I'm glad that I rented it, but I'm also happy that Nintendo is willing to downplay some of their prices every now and then. This costs less than Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. How is it so much better? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the video, as well as your favorite NES game. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!